Hey, what's up, family? Hey, today I want to do this video for a lot of you people out there, and it's going to be dealing with reading. And when I say reading, we're going to be touching on knowledgeable education when referring to reading, a little bit of humor as well. But with that, that's why I'm going to title it, Why I Love to Read. If y'all looked at some of my videos, I got quite a few videos on different books I read, me and my family, and very informative, sometimes humorous as well. But why I love to read is real simple. Before I get into that, you got to remember, as crazy as this may sound, throughout history, would you believe there was a time when most people didn't even read? Even crazier than that, there was no reason to read. Doesn't that sound crazy? But it's true. There was a time there was no reason to read. But before I get into all of that, because I'm going to get into all that, this video may be a little bit more lengthier than my normal short videos, but I guarantee you I'll keep you entertained and educate you on quite a few things. So why do I love to read? Because it's like that old show when we was kids, The Reading Rainbow. Remember, take a look, it's in a book, The Reading Rainbow. Remember, you could travel in a book. There's so much to learn when you read a book. And another thing why I love to read, because a lot of us out here, we need to unlearn sometimes what we've been learned, because now, therefore, you come to your own conclusion opposed to what had always been wrongfully taught to you or purposely, blatantly left out, meaning omission. Purposely have not been taught to you because they don't want you to know your history or whatever, the truths about stuff. So therefore, that's why I love to read, because when you read, you're educating yourself. We're mature now. You should be reading more. You should be doing your own research and stuff. And when you do, that's when you come to your own conclusion, opposed to what you've been taught blindly and just believe it. But anyway, let's get to the beginning of this. Do you remember, what I mean, do you remember? If you go way back, like I said, there was a time most people didn't read, most people couldn't read, didn't have no reason to read. Let's think about it. If you go way back medieval times and further, think about it. There was no reason to read. You know why? Most people was nothing more than, it was either you was farmers, soldiers for the king, blacksmiths or whatever like that. It wasn't no computer world, nothing like that. Think about it. What do you have to read for? All you was doing, you was a farmer. That's all you was, either you was a farmer, slave, soldier, or you was a family members of the king. Now think about it. If you was family members of the king, you had a little bit of prominence, so maybe they taught you how to read. But even if you go further than that, do you know the main people that only knew how to read was the priests? Yes. Look, do the history. You'll see the only people that really knew how to read was people who was so-called ordained to talk to God. See? These were the people who everybody exalted them or extolled. That's going to be the word of the day. You could use either one. E-X-T-O-L, which means to praise highly, or E-X-A-L-T, which means as well, something or someone who you praise highly. They both mean the same thing, exalt or extol. Now, think about it. The priests was pretty much the only ones across the land that knew how to read. And you know what they was reading? This book called From God, the Bible. So therefore, everybody extolled them, gave them high praise. And they would say stuff that you guys always heard. Remember these statements? Oh, he's the only one that could speak to God because he got that book. Only he could. Remember, you got to think of it like this. Way back when, people will open up that book that the priest had. First of all, you had no business touching that book. But if you happen to come across it, when people will open up that book, they didn't know what that said because they couldn't read. There was no reason to read. You was either a peasant or members of the king. So you was a serf or members of the king, whatever. A serf, S-E-R-F. And you know what a serf means? A serf is a servant to your lord, meaning the king. A slave, someone who have to, look how it sounds, serf, servant, servant. You was a serf. There was no reason for you to read. You was a slave. You was a servant. Yes. Even the soldiers, they were serfs. You got to remember, it was different levels of serfs. So you could have been a serf that was a peasant. Of course, you don't know how to read. You're just a poor person. Just get the scraps on the ground. You could have been a soldier to the king. You still was a serf. You just was at a different level. You got the king's leftover stuff. You could have been the blacksmith who makes the armor and the swords. You still was what? A servant to your Lord, meaning the king. There was no reason to read, though. Isn't that crazy? Most people had no reason to read. Now, just imagine if you was a serf and you did know how to read. You know how we heard these statements like back in the slavery days of the common era, where we would say stuff like, it was against the law. They made it against the law for black people to read and this and that. Well, way before that, could you imagine if a serf, meaning a peasant, a slave, knew how to read and the king found out? It's not new law with the common law. This goes back even further. If the king found out that a serf knew how to read, almost immediately, it was almost like a crime. How dare you? Like, imagine the king knew he knew how to read. He'd be like, how dare you? You know how to read? Who has taught this scoundrel how to read? You ought to do nothing but to squabble around my piss when I piss in a bucket. You nothing but a serf. You ought to do nothing but to take my excrements and get rid of them. And before you return, you ought to wash your hands and bring me my dinner, you serf. That's this how they used to talk to these people. There was no reason to read. Like I said, doesn't it sound crazy? That's why I say I love to read. When you read this history stuff, you start to really find out, like, yeah, you're right. Most people were soldiers. Most of the soldiers were just very naive, because dumb. They were just dumb. It was like, hey, take this sword, go into battle, get killed. All right, get another soldier. It's like, there's no reason for you to put two and two together. Like, wait a minute, hold on. This is not making no sense. It's not making no sense. The king got us doing all kind of crazy stuff. The peasants, the blacksmith, any and everyone. So eventually the king started, people of prominence, emperor, the king, whoever, started saying, you know, teach my family how to read. Teach my immediate circle how to read. But like I said, more importantly, the priests were the only ones that knew how to read, because they had to read that book that they so prominently pronounced across the land with the Spanish Inquisition and all this other stuff, that they was the only ones who knew how to read. Therefore, everyone across the land extolled / exalted them, meaning they praised the priest highly. Oh my gosh, he speaks the Lord's language. He speaks God's language. He's the only one that knows how to speak it. Now, speaking about that, like I said, I keep y'all entertained. It takes me back to an old book I remember I read in high school. Another fellow on YouTube, man, I'm sorry, man, I'm forgetting the guy's name. He spoke, one of his books he put on his site called McCormick. I remember I read that book back in school, where the guy in there, he went to an old Western town and he didn't know how to read, but he remembered a couple of lines in the Bible. So when he came across these people in the old West, he acted like he was this renowned preacher and he was the man of God, and everybody believed him, because even way in the Western days, a lot of people didn't know how to read. And if you came across these people with a Bible and you start preaching the Lord's word, they go, he's wants someone to be extolled, meaning praised highly. He speaks the Lord's language. He's the only one who knows how to speak it. No, it's just that y'all don't know how to read yet. You ever heard that term when someone says, yeah, you're smart amongst a bunch of dummies? See what I'm saying? All this preacher used to do, like many of them, was remember and rehearse a couple of lines in the Bible. Therefore, they always faked it like they were reading. But they were illiterate. They didn't even know how to read. That's what brings me back to an old episode in, remember that great show? And it's still great to this day, Little House on the Prairie. Y'all remember that show? There was a scene in there where they did that exact thing. It was a lady that came to town and she was preaching, and everybody exalt / extol, praised her highly because she's speaking to the Lord. She the only one know how to read in that book. Nobody else know how to read. But remember, Charles Ingalls and his family, they were intelligent. And remember, Mary was very intelligent, his oldest daughter. And there was a scene where the teacher went off on Mary and she called her a Jezebel and she embarrassed her, and she was preaching all these words out of the Bible, and everybody believed her because she's a woman of the cloth, a woman of God. She could read. Well, she met a match this time, because Mary went home and told her father everything. If y'all remember this episode, I love this episode. And her father came back to her to the school. And I remember Mary said, because the father was going to go off on the teacher. And I remember Mary said, no, Dad, this is my fight. And I love it when she came to the school, her father just stood at the doorway and let her daughter do all the talking. And she exposed that lady for the liar that she was. She said, you called me a Jezebel and ain't nothing about me a Jezebel, this and that. Now, I'm not paraphrasing the exact word verbatim, but one of the boys tried to steal a kiss from her and the teacher seen that. And she said, oh, you a Jezebel. And that was all false. She didn't do nothing wrong. The kid tried to jump on her with a kiss. But then not only that, she said, you here preaching all this word to God, to these people, and everything that you're telling them is a lie. She said, you don't even got the 10 Commandments in the right order or even know what they are. So Mary started reciting, and the lady tried to jump on. She said, you know what? Here's the Bible right here. She said, read it. And the teacher didn't want to look at her. She said, could you even read? She said, you don't even know how to read. You're just remembering lines and you telling them to these people, and they believe you just because you say you speaking only the words that a person from the Lord could speak. Because most people couldn't read back then. You understand what I'm saying? I love that episode. Somebody else could probably understand what I'm talking about. That was an excellent episode. I love how Mary exposed that lady. And now everybody in the church had realized this lady was a fraud. She didn't know how to read at all. But see, that's what you could do to people. Like you say, we go back to the statement again. You are smart amongst a bunch of dummies. You know, it's like that statement when they say, you tough in your own neighborhood. See, you're tough around a bunch of people who don't fight back or can't fight back or whatever the case. But get you around a bunch of people that are just as tough, if not tougher. We'll see if you're a real alpha, because then we're going to see you're a sucker. You just was acting tough around them, acting tough around your own family or whatever. Or you acting like you're so intelligent around people who don't have knowledge whatsoever. In that day and age, they didn't have any knowledge. They was all illiterate. So since you remember a couple of things, you acting like you're so smart. Man, I love that episode. But anyway, back to why I love to read. Like I said, there's so many things you need to come to your own conclusion when you do read. Because I'll give you another one. I remember I read this book way back in the days by Eric Jerome Dickey. Which one? It was the Gideon series. He has 4 where Gideon is an assassin. I love the Gideon series, man. That's amazing. Unfortunately, that brother passed away. But anyway, in the Gideon series, there was a scene in the book. Now, this is what I mean by you can travel in the book. You can learn different things from different cultures. Check this scene out. It was a part where Gideon was on the plane. And while he was on the plane, he was exhausted. He was so tired. But the guy in the seat on next to him just kept, and the whole time Gideon was like, oh my gosh, this guy would not shut up. This guy been talking the whole time, man. I'm taking my BC powder. Remember that back in the days? People taking BC powder. He said, I'm taking my BC powder and trying to get rid of this headache, but I wish this guy shut up. The guy just kept talking with everything, right? So then all of a sudden the guy out of nowhere said, I can't wait till this plane land, because, man, I can't wait to get me a fag. Man, as soon as I get off this plane, the fag going to be the first thing I go get me is a fag. So, like I said, when you're reading, you learn different things from different cultures. I got to be honest with you. When I read this in the book, I had no idea that a fag is a cigarette in Europe. But as he explained in the book, but if you use that terminology here in the States, it's talking about sexual orientation of a man, so to speak. You know what I'm saying? It's like talking about like some type of I can't get my words right. I'm messing up here. Talking about some type of a guy of a sexual orientation, a guy that's not with a woman, but he's with another man.
A partner.
He has another man of the same sex here in the States. But if you use that same terminology, fag in London, that means a cigarette. That's a cigarette. I mean, like I said, I remember the first time I read that, I thought that was amazing. I said, I never knew that. I bet you a lot of y'all didn't know that. I bet you a lot of y'all do know that. But anyway, once again, why I love to read. Because just like that cigarette thing, I didn't know that. You do learn so many different things. Like, that's amazing. It is amazing to read. There's so many great stories to add to why it's great to read, because you learn so much. Check this one out. I got another great story for y'all. I remember when my daughters was little kids, we used to watch this show all the time called Between the Lions. You know, it was puppet lions and stuff. it was one scene when the little baby lion, the young lion rather, it was his birthday. And when it was his birthday, one of his best friends, all his friends got him a bunch of gifts, you know, basketball, football, baseball bat, this and that. And then his one friend, the female lion, she got him this little box. And he was all happy. He got the box. He said, oh, yeah, it's my birthday. I got all his toys, this and that. So he got the box. He opened up the box. Yeah, I can see what this is. Yeah. And when he opened up the box, it was a book. So then the girl was happy that she got him the book. When he seen it was a book, he's like, oh, this is a book. Okay, yeah, I got the baseball bat and football and basketball and that. And he didn't even care about the book. And then the girl that got him the gift, she said, but wait a minute. She said, wait, aren't you going to take the book out and see what it is? He said, I'll worry about that later. Let's go out and play. And she's like, okay. So they went out and played. When they came back home, she was like, hey, listen, aren't you going to get the gift that I got you? He said, look, I'll get that later. And then she said, yeah, but I put a lot of time into getting it. I know you're going to really like it. She's like, why don't you check it out now? He's like, why you keep pushing me about that doggone book? And she was like, I'm sorry. I just thought you would really like it. I mean, I didn't mean to hurt your feelings. He said, yeah, but you keep pushing me. You keep pushing me about that book. And then she said, yeah, but what's the problem? Why are you acting like I did something hurtful to you? I just wanted you to check the book out and read it. He said, because I can't read, that's why. Like, I thought that was so funny. He ridiculed her because she did something nice for him. But see, you got people like that in this world for real, who really can't read. And it's too much pride for them to tell someone that they can't read. So suppose they just go throughout life barely getting by when they could be much better. Don't be ashamed you can't read, get help. See, like I said, why I love to read. Because you start to learn so much things in life and so much different cultures, so much that you didn't know that you like, wow, it's amazing. I have to give y'all one last very important story about reading. Why it's very crucial to learn. Now, this was way back in the days when I used to work for this delivery company, right? Doing my route all the time. Check this story out. Very important thing about reading. Just so happens, it was this older guy. He passed away now. His name was Jerry. Jerry went on vacation. When he went on vacation, they asked me to do his route for the whole week. So I did his route. Lovely route, easy route, right? I remember I went to this one company, go over here. And when I went there, let's say it was on a Tuesday. When I went there on a Tuesday, they said, hey, listen, we just want to let you know, if you're going to be doing this route for the rest of the week, we're moving. We're going to be at the same address, but we're going to be at the end of the block, around the corner, upstairs on the second floor. I said, oh, really? She said, but don't worry. We're going to put a big sign in the window. So you'll see the sign and you'll know exactly where to go, okay? So that way you don't go to the other side. You'll know which side to go. We're going to be a big sign in the window. So I said, okay, sure. So the next day came. They were still there. The day after that, they weren't there. And I read the sign. It said, yeah, to the right, make the left, go past the two red doors, up around the back, up the stairs, down the hall, B12, whatever room, right? So I got it. They told me anyway, plus I read it. So anyway, for the rest of the week, I knew where to go to get this stuff. The following week came. Jerry's back at work. Now, Jerry's an old guy, right? Jerry's back at work. And the job that I was working at the time, we had what was called two-way radios, which means any and everybody that's talking, if you're talking to dispatch, every driver could hear your conversation. And you could talk to any driver, the dispatch, any and everybody could hear your conversation. So Jerry's back. He's on his route. He went to that. He's carrying on with his whole route. He went to that stop that day. When he went to the stop, he carried on to his next stop and the next stop and the next stop. Next thing you know, it was getting close to closing because it was about 6 o'clock. It was about 5:45. The company called the job up and said, hey, listen, the driver didn't show up to pick up our stuff and we getting ready to close. So they called Jerry on a two-way. They said, hey, Jerry, this is our dispatch. We just got a call saying that you didn't pick the stop up at 1614 Morris Avenue. So Jerry gets on, remember I said, so old grumpy dude. He gets on the phone, he goes, hey, what are you talking about? I did go to that stop. I went there and they was closed. So I could hear this. Remember, everybody could hear it. So I got on the phone, on the microphone, and I said, hey, Jerry, what's up, man? Yo, this is Spinks. I said, hey, listen, just to let you know, I did your route all last week. And yo, if you just read the sign, it tells you where they at right now. And I clicked off. I'm being helpful. You know what this dude did? This dude gets on the phone. He goes, who the hell is this on the phone telling me what to do with my route? Hey, listen, let me tell you something. I've been doing this route longer than you was pissing in your pants in the diapers, okay? I don't need you telling me what to do. Click. I'm driving. I'm like, I don't believe this guy. I'm trying to be helpful. So I said, no problem. So next thing you know, dispatch go, yeah, well, Jerry, we need you to go back there. They said some important stuff. They got airline tickets and everything. It needs to go out. You need to go back. They said they are definitely there. They're going to wait for you to get there in the next 15 minutes. Could you make it? He said, all right, I'll tell you what. I'll go back. But I'm telling you, I went there. They was closed. They're not there. Jerry goes back. Guess he leaves. Now he's driving. He's telling me, he gets back on the mic and he says, hey, listen, like I told you, you guys are wasting my damn time. I just went back there again and there's no one there. Matter of fact, the company has moved. They're not even there. It's an empty place. I looked all in the window. Nothing's there. So now I get back. I'm trying to be helpful. I didn't know this was more severe than what it really was. So I get back on the intercom and I says, hey, Jerry, listen, man, I'm just trying to help. I said, listen, like I said, this is Spinks. I did your route all last week. I say, hey, listen, Jerry, they are actually there. Just read the sign in the window. It'll tell you exactly where they are. You know, that's a big building. You know, so just read the sign on the window. He gets back on and said, get the hell off the phone. Who you said this is Spinks? You can't tell me nothing. I'm old enough to be your father. I'm probably close to your grandfather. You don't know nothing about what I know. I've been doing. I done been to every prison in the world. You don't know nothing. I'm like, what? Where did this prison stuff come from? Why he throw that in there? And he's going off on me. I keep telling him. So at that point, lickety split. I said, I'm not opening my mouth anymore. This guy, I'm trying to help him. And so next thing you know, dispatch says, Jerry, the people, they said they closed. You just missed the pickup. So pickup's missed. Okay. We get back to the job. Jerry buddy, this old dude named Nick, he approaches me by the time clock. He said, hey, Spinks, come here. You're a good guy, man. Come here. She needs to talk to you for a second. You know, the old Italian stuff. He said, she needs to talk to you for a second, you know. Gold chains. You know the old Italian dude. He got a t-shirt, a tank top on with gold chains. And it's 25 degrees outside. A leather jacket, gold chains, and a tank top. He go, hey, let me talk to you for a second. Come over here, man. I got to talk to you. I go, yeah, what's up, Nick? We was cool. He said, look, I'm going to tell you something. But I don't need you talking to nobody about what I'm going to tell you. Now, like I said, Jerry's dead, Nick's dead. So that's why I'm telling the story. He said, I'm going to tell you something. I heard you on the phone. I heard you. You was trying to be helpful, and I appreciate it. Now, you know, Jerry, that's my buddy. Me and him go back so many years, over 50 years. I don't know if you know, but I heard that part when Jerry said the prison thing. Yeah, he's been to every prison you could name in the whole damn United States. That's all he's done a lot of prison time. He truly has. I said, really? He said, but listen, the reason I wanted to talk to you, like I said, you don't be running your mouth. I said, okay, yeah, what's up, man? Get to the point. He said, no. See, when you said to him on the phone, although you was trying to be helpful, the mistake that you made was one that you didn't know. And that was, Jerry can't read. I said, what? Get out of here with that crap, man. He said, listen, man, I know the man for over 50 years. This is the only job he ever had in his whole life. He said, see, now when you said that, he said, now everybody heard you say that, to read the sign. You wasn't trying to be offensive because you didn't know. He said, but when you told him to read the sign, he took that offensive. You know why? Because Jerry can't read. He said, listen, man, all he's ever done was prison time all his life, and then he got this job, and this is the only job he ever had. See, you was trying to help, but coming from him, coming from you, hearing it from him, knowing he can't read, he took that offensive. I said, wow, Nick, you serious? I said, but Jerry, like 60-something years old, what do you mean he can't read? He said, the man never had a reason to read. Everything was given to him, you know, the old mafia, this and that, whatever. There's no reason to read. You know, he got the hook up here, the job. There's no reason to read. Now, you keep that to yourself. So I was like, wow, that's amazing. In this day and age now, could you imagine that? But here's what's even more crazy about that story and many others to come. In this day and age now, would you believe there are plenty of people out there that, to this day, don't know how to read? So it's really no excuse. You just got to drop that pride and get the help. Because there's even safety videos out there where it shows a person that don't know how to read, where it clearly says, danger, do not enter. But since they can't read it, they go in there and get hurt. So we don't want no one getting hurt. So what I would advise anyone who can't read or can't read as well as they would like to, get some help. But more importantly, get rid of that pride for the reason you're not getting the help that you need. And as I said, subscribe, share, like, and comment. Not gonna keep the video too long, but I will end it with just saying that get rid of that pride and get the help you need. And once you start to read, you will start to learn so much more in life, and you will learn to unlearn what you was learned blindly, and you will come to your own conclusion when you do your research, your background checks, your reading stuff, you're learning it for yourself, and you'll put a lot of these stories together and be like, wow, I didn't know that. So on that note, I'm gonna let y'all go. I hope y'all appreciate those stories I gave you. They were very great ones. Subscribe, share, like, and comment. I appreciate y'all. Hope y'all love them. See, the Little House on the Prairie, Between the Lines, because I can't read. Jerry, that was unfortunate. Man, I'm trying to help this guy. He cussing me out. What was the other one? Oh, even remember Shaka Zulu. How could I forget Shaka Zulu? The true story of Shaka Zulu. Remember when the Westerners came to him and they presented him with gifts, and he presented them with gifts, and then the Westerner, meaning the white people, they wrote down on a cloth some words, and they presented to him, and he was like, what is this? And they was like, what do you mean? He said, what is that on there? And they said, it is writing. He said, what do I need that for? They was like, it is a great tool about knowledge. He said, but why do I need that? Any enemies of mine, I could just destroy them or whatever. And he said, well, when you have writing, it's good to use as a tool where you could write a message down to pass it along to one of your soldiers or someone you need to get an important message across. He said, I just tell people what to do or whatever. Now, I'm not saying it's verbatim, but he didn't get the concept of writing. But then when the guy explained it in more detail, he said, even if it's a secret message, then it started sinking in. Yeah, because he had secrets. And he said, oh, maybe I'll take up that tool of yours you said about writing and reading. Maybe I will. But he didn't understand it. You get what I'm saying? So this video has been long enough, informative enough. And on that note, hey, like I said, I know I said it again, I'll be a little bit more redundant. Subscribe to the channel, hit that button, that red button on the side there. Share, like, and comment. I appreciate some comments from you guys, because we seen stories where people can't read. It's unfortunate, but like I said, drop that pride and take time to get the help that you need so you can read. And on that note, I'm gonna let y'all go. Peace. Subscribe, share, like, and comment.